Cowboy Nation. Coach Marv is here with you again, man. We uh going to back to the YouTube platform, man, and we're trying to build this channel, man, and we trying to, as you saw in the thumbnail there, we gotta show this. Want to talk to you a few minutes, man, because I know everybody want to try to get back to the game. Um, I'm a basketball fan as well, but want to talk about what I feel is going to be the paramount thing for us to get to a Super Bowl. If you've been following me on our other live streams, man, you know that Coach Marv has been saying this for a while, and he has been hopping on one major aspect of us getting to a championship, and that one major aspect for us to get to a championship is that we're going to get there as far as defense is going to take us. We're going to get to a championship as far as defense takes us. We can add the Pickens. We can add the running back situation. But there's been one thing that has been missing, is that our defense hadn't been good enough to help us win a championship. And there's no way to sugarcoat it, and I'm not saying that it's not a team thing. And if we think about it, and talk about the history of the Cowboys, never won a Super Bowl. And I know people say, well, Coach Marv, keep going back to history, but history seems like it's repeating itself over and over. And I should have named this show, and I should have did a show that said, the more things that people say things are changing, the more things are staying the same. I know y'all have heard that before. The more things people say are changing, the more things are staying the same. And history says that the Cowboys never, and check, I know some people out there like to go and check it, have never. What's going on, Amp? Man, I'm trying, man. I'm learning how to try to put thumbnails, man. It's getting better as it goes. But I'm gonna tap in with you a little later, man, because I'm gonna need you to see if I can, enhance this thing a little bit better. Glad to see my man Amp Sports is in the chat, man. Hey, man, Amp, Boss Cowboy, man. Every live stream I've done, I wouldn't be nowhere without them. Law Nation, if he does click in and he see me, I know he's busy. Man, thank you so much today, Law Nation, for just putting me out there, man. Wow, man. I never thought that I would start a show and I'll have in 2 weeks over 120, 130 subscribers. And I got 60 today just because Law Nation said, hey, out there, and I just got a banner on my live screen. I just figured out how to put a banner over there and a logo banner. Hey, man, God is good. But I just said something, getting back to what I was saying about more things stay. People say things changing, more things staying the same. Got that from my pastor this past Sunday. And it's the truth. There is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new, people. All this stuff they're talking about changing and everything. Oh, coach, it's a different day. It's not changed. Football is not changed. It's the same way. Cowboys, and I'm getting back to my point I was just saying before. Cowboys, hey, Michelle. Cowboys has never won a Super Bowl, has never played in the NFC Championship game, have never played in a Super Bowl and lost a Super Bowl championship game, and had not had a top 10 defense and a top 3 rushing attack, top 5 rushing attack in that season. Think about it. Cowboys has been playing in probably more NFC championship games than most teams. And I've heard some people talking earlier on Twitter, and they were talking about, well, the Eagles are the new thing and how many that. The Eagles and the Washington and the Giants have been in the NFL since 1934, man. They've been in there since before we had lights, probably. The Cowboys only came into the league in 1960 and still lead the division in championships. They had a 20-year start on us. And we still got more playoff victories and more Super Bowls. So it's going to take a while for them to catch up. But if you go back to the history of the Cowboys, going back to what I said, never in our history in the 60s, the 70s, and 90s have we ever played in the championship game. And during that year, we didn't have a top 10 defense and a top 5 rushing attack. So when people tell me things change, didn't things change from the 90s, from the 70s? Yeah. A lot of things changed from the 90s and the 70s. But the same thing applied. So now we got to get back to having a top 5 rushing attack in the league and a top 10 defense, preferably in the top 5. And we was at the top 10 on a couple of those championship games we lost. We were just at 8 or 9 in the 3 championship games we lost in the 80s. And we lost 3 NFC championships back to back when the defense was getting old. But the years we played the Pittsburgh and we won against the Denver Broncos, and we won against the Miami Dolphins, we were a top 10, top 2, top 3 defense. In the years when we won with Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin, the triplets, we were a number 1 defense. And the year that we won against Pittsburgh in our last Super Bowl, we were a number 8 defense in the league. And then when our defense fell off, we would have had that drought. So defense and running attack is how we're going to get to a Super Bowl. The exact same thing with Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, with Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson. It all came down with a top 5 rushing attack and a top 10 defense. So if that's the case, why we think should things change? I got a friend that's in the chat right now, Mr. Cleve Muller. I hate to say his whole name out there in the YouTube land, but he's a great friend of mine, a great Pittsburgh fan. Same thing applies to Pittsburgh, but like I said in my other last live stream, history repeats itself, and culture of teams are what it is. Pittsburgh is a cultural team, just like the Cowboys. They have never won a Super Bowl without a top 3 defense. They can try to do it offense, but they got top 3 defense. They got a chance to win a Super Bowl. They did that in the 90s, in the 2000s, and they did that in the 70s. History repeats itself because you are a cultural branded organization, just like in your life. That's why we see certain things that when our grandfathers did, our great-great-grandfathers did, and they were really good at, and we find out 3-4 generations later, we're good at the same thing. And we go back and say, oh man, my great-great-grandfather was good at that. Because more things they say things change, the more they stay the same. So, as my footnote said, we talking about the Cowboys defense, and it must be a weapon for us to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if this phrase is copyrighted. I might need to go ahead and get it copyrighted. You know, I've been looking into things like that so I can make some extra money. But defense is a weapon. Hashtag defense is a weapon. Everybody's talking about weapons, about receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. But defense is a weapon. You got a monstrous defense, you have a weapon in football. If you got defensive players to make plays, you got a weapon. Most people talk about this league as the offensive league. It says a passing league. But when we think about the Super Bowl in the recent history, how many times we looked at the teams and said, man, their defense showed up and they won a Super Bowl? Just look at the past Super Bowl. Philadelphia defense harassed Patrick Mahomes all over the field. They got 2 interceptions that brought the ball all the way back, one almost for a touchdown. Some people thought that their defensive lineman should have been the MVP. Do we remember when the Rams won the Super Bowl? When Aaron Donald dominated the game, but their quarterback threw 2 interceptions? Do we remember when the great Tom Brady won a Super Bowl because Seattle, the defensive back got an interception because Seattle turned the ball over? But they got an interception. Do we remember the Giants winning the Super Bowl against the 18-0 New England Patriots, where they harassed Tom Brady with their front 7? Do you remember Chicago Bears? They won a Super Bowl with a quarterback that's not even going to be a Hall of Famer. Everybody talks about defense in a way early in the year, like we talk about. Don't talk about, say, well, but at the end of the year when it's all over, we say, oh, if we would have stopped somebody and gave us the ball back, we would have won. When people make the phrase that defense win championships, that's not a phrase that keeps being said because it's not true. It's the truth. Is it sexy? Probably not. Why is it not sexy? Because it don't score points on fantasy football. It scores points, but it's not the major factor of scoring points. So we don't talk about it. So defense for the Cowboys is going to win a Super Bowl. But we have to look at our defense and see if we could put the emphasis on our defense to win. If you've been following me on Twitter, on X, I'm sorry. I don't even want to keep saying Twitter because I don't want to be sanctioned by Doge because I'm not saying it correctly. That's a whole nother issue. More things people say, things are changing. More things are staying the same. But if you follow me on X, I've been talking about the Jalen Ramsey rumor. And I know some of my counterparts have been out there, pushing been pushing a one tech. And I can understand where they're coming from with a one tech. I can understand that. But I'm going to get to where I think the one tech is probably the least of my worries. And I'm going to get to why I think we have solidified our run defense. But it's just one more character we got to build. And I think it'll be 2 characters. Well, they fall in both. That we got to build that'll help our run defense. And might not need the one tech as much right now until we see what we got in training camp. But I've been standing on the top of the roof for Jalen Ramsey. Now, somebody been saying, well, coach, you stand on the top of the roof for Jalen Ramsey, you're going back to, you just said about being, this thing ain't about pass happy. No. Let me give you my little reason why I love Jalen. If I think Jerry them should pull the trigger on Jalen Ramsey. Two things. One, I don't think Jalen Ramsey at cornerback is that guy anymore. We said, well, coach, how can you want Jalen Ramsey, but you don't think he's that guy at cornerback? No, he's not that guy at cornerback anymore. And it's time, and I think he's capable because when you look at his film when he played for the Rams, and you look at some of his film, just a little bit, but when you look at his film at the Rams, you would notice that they had him playing the slot. They had him almost in a safety position closer to the line of scrimmage on a lot of occasions. They had him in a position where he could roam and make plays. And I think what they're saying to him, they think he could be a wonderful safety now, but they got their safeties in Miami. And they need assets. Jalen Ramsey has the makeup of Charles Woodson. Now let's talk about the history of great cornerbacks that have moved to safety that were playmakers. Football fans, you remember, Ronnie Lott started out as an all-pro cornerback. Matter of fact, he played in the Super Bowl as a cornerback first, starting off. He moved to safety. And went from an all-pro cornerback to an all-pro Hall of Fame safety. Rod Woodson was an all-pro cornerback. All these guys had the same, they were big corners. Jalen Ramsey is a big corner. Rod Woodson, fast, great career at cornerback. Moved to safety, was an all-pro safety. And helped his team even better. Rod Woodson. Charles Woodson. It didn't go to Charles Woodson. It's right, Reboot, Cowboy. Charles Woodson moved to safety when he got picked up by the Green Bay Packers. Before that, he was still playing corner. He was an all-pro cornerback. Matter of fact, he won a Heisman Trophy playing cornerback. But he moved to safety when he went to the Green Bay Packers. Everybody want to talk about Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl. They got to the Super Bowl because their defense was a top-ranked defense, and Charles Woodson was the defensive MVP of the NFL. Making plays all over the place at safety. Only we don't want to talk about him because in the Super Bowl, he broke his arm on a play. Broke his forearm. And they went ahead and won. But they didn't get there without Charles Woodson. And he became a Hall of Fame guy. Because he was a playmaker. Now, I might be making a case for Charles Woodson and Jalen Ramsey, and as Mike Fisher said today, they don't have no talks about that. But if you want to make a great, if I believe what I believe, that defense will win a championship, our safety position, history says we have never won a championship without having ultimately playmaker safeties. From the Charlie Waters, to Cliff Harris, to the Darren Woodsons. the James Washingtons. We have not done it without having great safeties. And I don't think our safeties are dynamic enough. And this is going to get to my next point when I talk about what I think about the defense, or why the defense, the other key I think they need to do, why they're not dynamic. But to finish my point on on Jalen Ramsey, as you get older as a player, but you still got the instincts and you still got the speed, but you may not have the twitch as much in your hips, you are better, as I put in my X post, he is better with he is not as good anymore with his eyes off the ball. And I explained, what you mean, coach, when you mean by eyes off the ball? Him in bump and run coverage, jamming the receivers, running with receivers, eyes off the ball, just covering the guys all over the field. Ball might not come to him, but his eyes are glued to the receiver, only looking up when he go to play the ball, when the ball in the air, when it's coming that way, but his eyes are on the receiver doing his thing, his coverage. He's not as good no more with the eyes off the ball. But if you watch his little highlight films, the interceptions he got, his eyes are on the ball. And what I mean by that, with his eyes on the ball playing as safety, he is reading the quarterback. He is reading the quarterback. He's reading the routes. He's jumping wide. He's jumping routes. He's using his instinct and his speed as a cornerback and safety. He's aggressive to get to the ball. He's always flowing to the ball so he can make plays. And he got swag. And he got a ring on his finger. That's all going to help that backfield back there. Now, I know some people are talking about, well, let's go we need a cornerback. Let's go get Gilmore. I have no problem with Gilmore. That's my homeboy. Yeah, from South Carolina. Hey, man. Gilmore's got swagger. Gilmore's going to be a great cover. But Gilmore's only going to give you one thing. Cornerback coverage. He's not going to be able to give you safety. Jalen Ramsey has showed it. If you dig deep in the tape, he's giving you both. And he's going to give it to you at a high level. And he's going to give you